What's up everybody, I'm Alan, and on today's Entertainment Fix, James Gunn weighs in on Superman's less than super international box office numbers, and Kevin Feige gives some major updates on the MCU. Let's go! Presented by Universal Orlando Resort and its new theme park, Universal Epic Universe. Superman has topped the global box office for its second weekend in a row, crossing the $400 million mark. The bulk of those ticket sales are coming from North American theaters though, and director James Gunn offered some insight on why his film is doing better domestically than it is overseas. Speaking to Rolling Stone, Gunn explained, quote, "Superman is not a known commodity in some places. He's not a big known superhero in some places like Batman is. That affects things. It also affects things that we have a certain amount of anti-American sentiment around the world right now. It isn't really helping us," end quote. Still, he's got the #1 movie in the world, and Gunn sounds optimistic, noting that it's performing well in the UK and Brazil, adding that, quote, "Word of mouth is very positive both here and everywhere else, which is the thing that we needed to do the most," end quote. Rumors were circulating online that in order to avoid being a flop, Superman would need to break 700 million globally, which Gunn has dismissed as, quote, "complete and utter nonsense," end quote. Superman has been received well by critics and moviegoers alike, with an 83 fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes among critics and 92% from users. So, lower international box office numbers aside, it seems like Gunn's new DC universe is off to a pretty strong start. Meanwhile, we got an update on the status of the Marvel Cinematic Universe this weekend, holding a roundtable interview with members of the press and offering some insight on the future plans, as well as the reasoning behind some recent developments. For starters, Feige put to rest any speculation that the introduction of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom was in the works long before the pivot away from Kang following Jonathan Majors' departure. Quote, "We had started to realize that Kang wasn't big enough, wasn't Thanos, and that there was only one character that could be that, because he was in the comics for decades and decades. Because of the Fox acquisition, we finally had it, and it was Dr. Doom." And in fact, I'd started talking with Robert Downey Jr. about this audacious idea before Ant-Man 3 even came out. It was a long plan that we had to take one of our greatest characters and utilize one of our greatest actors, end quote. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was released in early 2023 to a disappointing box office draw and an even worse critical reception. Shortly thereafter, Jonathan Majors, who played its main villain Kang, was arrested on domestic violence charges. At the time, the next Avengers movie had already been announced as The Kang Dynasty, but it's interesting that Marvel was having second thoughts about it so early. In any case, we're getting Avengers Doomsday instead, which is slated to hit theaters on December 18th, 2026. Feige also gave some hints on the direction the MCU would be taking after Secret Wars. Quote, "Endgame literally was about endings. Secret Wars is about beginnings," he said. "We're utilizing that story not just to round out the stories we've been telling post-Endgame, just as importantly, and you can look at the Secret Wars comics for where that takes you. It very, very much sets us up for the future." One big question Marvel fans have about the future is how the MCU will introduce the X-Men. And we have something almost resembling an answer. Jake Schreier, who directed Thunderbolts, will be directing the next currently untitled X-Men film, and it will, quote, "reset the MCU." Reboot is a scary word, Feige explained. Reboot can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, singular timeline, we're thinking along those lines. X-Men is where that will happen next. Which X-Men, you ask? Well, several members of Fox's X-Men films will make appearances in Avengers Doomsday, but moving forward beyond that, the plan is to recast them to focus on a group of young mutants. Which characters should make up the next generation of X-Men, and who should play them? Let us know in the comments. And those are your stories for today, Monday, July 21st. Now is a great time to score some incredible games through Humble. Live now through August 5th, grab Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, Daemon X Machina, Death's Door, Cat Quest 3, and more. Whether you're building your backlog or discovering something new, it's the perfect time to pick up these fan favorites. Plus, every purchase supports a good cause. This month, your Humble Choice membership supports Covenant House. Get a curated mix of PC games every month, all for just $14.99 a month. Skip a month or cancel anytime. And know that 5% of your membership goes to charity. And a special bonus, Humble is actually running a deal on this bundle. So use code July25 to get this month's selection for only $10. And make sure to tune in on our Comic-Con coverage next Friday and Saturday. We'll have new looks at Predator Badlands, Alien Earth, Peacemaker, King of the Hill, Toxic Avenger, Twisted Metal, and more, starting at 3 p.m. PST Friday, July 25th and Saturday, July 26th. Now that you're caught up on the news, go get a look ahead at what to play next month in our video rounding up August's biggest game releases. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.